17, Ilya Topuria versus Charles Oliveira. We are finally here. International Fight Week. We finally have a card with some real stakes, some real entertainment, some real high value names on this card. Man, it's been a little bit of a drought. You know, the past few cards have been okay. Baku is a little bit of a stinker, especially the main event. But we are here. International Fight Week. This is the full card predictions. Make sure you guys tune in, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Let's get this video underway. Starting off the card, we got a welterweight banger with Nico Price versus Jacoby Smith. I feel like the pick here is pretty obvious. Jacoby Smith is the pick. Huge favorite. You know, you see on Tapology, they got him as around minus 1,400. I believe at one point he was upwards of minus 2,000. Jacoby Smith is very nasty, man. He's a really good prospect on the rise. Got him, you know, he had his nasty knockout in his UFC debut over Preston Parsons, which was a pretty, you know, impressive W if you really think about it. Preston Parsons has been in there with the likes of Oban Elliott, who we just saw get, you know, absolutely waxed. But he's got 8 knockout wins. You know, 8 out of his 10 wins are by knockout. He's got explosive power, a strong wrestling base as well, which is definitely going to, you know, show, give him, you know, an edge in this matchup against a Nico Price. I think he could definitely, you know, take Nico Price down. Ground and pound is definitely live. I think that's probably going to be the likelihood, or that'll probably be the method of victory for him. You see, he got it on his Contender Series victory, which, you know, granted him the UFC contract. He's kind of short for the division, 5'10". I know most of the, you know, 5'10" in real life isn't necessarily short, but the welterweight division does have a lot of guys who are 6'2", 6'3". You look at like Shavkat, you look at Ian Gary, Michael Morales, I believe he's like 6'1", 6'2". So a lot of the guys do have a bit of a height advantage over him, and Nico Price does too. Nico also has, you know, 4 inches in reach. When you look at Nico Price, he is a solid striker. He has been knocked out, you know, 5 times in his career, though. You know, most recently, I believe it was the Robbie Lawler knockout, which was about 2 years ago now. Came back, got a win over Alex Morono, who has not looked good since. You know, we just saw Alex Morono get crushed by Carlos Leal. So win over Alex Morono, you know, at the time it might have been okay, but now it's like Alex Morono is not a high value name to have on your record anymore. Coming off this loss against Themba Gorimbo, who doesn't really have knockout power like a Jacoby Smith, I think Jacoby Smith is going to put Nico Price's lights out. Nico, you know, he is a bit of a dog. He can weather, you know, a little bit of a storm, but I think Jacoby is just going to be too much for him. He's super explosive. Like I say, he's got like this short, stocky build too. I think he's going to uncork a big left hand, drop Nico Price, and I think Nico is going to be asleep. You know, first fight of the night, definitely going to be a knockout. So give me Jacoby Smith by finish. Take a look at the odds. They dropped a little bit, minus 1,800. Opened as a minus 1,600. Yeah, and was a minus 2,000 earlier in the day, or earlier this week, I'll say. A little bit of love on the Nico Price side, but I do think Nico Price is getting knocked out. So give me Jacoby Smith via knockout. Next up, we got Johanata Diniz taking on Elvin Hines. This is a replacement, actually. Elvin Hines is stepping in on short notice for Junior Tafa, I believe it was, the you know, brother of Justin Tafa, or it was either Justin Tafa or Junior Tafa, one of them. I believe the brother, whichever one it was, got injured, and in steps Elvin Hines. I'm still picking Johanata Diniz, even, you know, with the replacement. I think Johanata could get a knockout here. When you look at Diniz, he's the better striker. I think his takedown defense should hold in this matchup. I know he's coming off of his loss against Marcin Tybura, but Tybura has been a staple of the heavyweight division for a while. He did have Tybura hurt in that match, and then ultimately decided to grapple with him like an idiot. Got, you know, absolutely pummeled, almost stopped in the second round, and ultimately, you know, they had to stop it for that nasty cut on his face. Was bleeding pretty bad. I picked Johanata Diniz in that spot there too. But yeah, just a rookie mistake there. Decided to grapple with the more seasoned veteran, the more seasoned grappler, and got pummeled. But looking at this matchup, I don't think, you know, Elvin Hines will be able to take him down. And if he does, I see Johanata being able to get back to his feet. I think he's more accurate. I think he has the better power. He's more calculated in the striking. When you look at Alvin Hines, he's pretty much a first round berserker. I believe, yeah, I wrote down six out of his, he has 6 wins by finish, 4 in the first round. So a lot of his, knockouts or finishes have been in the first round where he is, at his scariest. He is coming off this most recent victory 2 months ago. You see, it was a high kick. When you look at Alvin Hines, he doesn't look like he could throw a lot of high kicks. He's a stocky 260 heavyweight, but he can get those legs up pretty high. I don't think he's gonna land on Joanante though. I think Joanante will, it would behoove him to zap the body early. I think he's gonna definitely, look to open up with the body kicks, chop at the legs, and then eventually find the finish late in the first round, early second, the most. But I do think Joanante gets it done by knockout. So I think we're going back to back knockouts to start International Fight Week. I got a lot of anticipation for this card. You can see I'm super excited. I think this is going to be one of those ones. International Fight Week hasn't, stunk it up in a while. Last year's International Fight Week was pretty good. I think we're gonna, carry on the tradition. Looking at the odds, Joanante is at minus 299. Alvin Hines plus 249. I think that's about right. I want to see what it opened at. Minus, what did it open? Minus 850? Jeez. Yeah. Now we're sitting at minus 300, minus 299. I think Joanante gets a finish in this one as well. Moving on, we got Cedric Dumas versus Jackson McVeigh. I am picking Jackson McVeigh in this one. This was like I believe this fight only got put together maybe like 3 weeks ago. But I'm taking Jackson McVeigh. This dude's coming off a knockout 2 weeks ago, most. 1 week, 1 day, 12 hours. I think Jackson's going to knock Cedric out. Jackson is also a southpaw, which is what gave Dumas trouble last time out in his loss to Mikhail Olajejczyk, where he got knocked out. Dumas is, I know his name is Dumas, but I want to call him dumbass, but I'm not going to disrespect him. But Dumas, his striking defense is piss poor, man. If you look at the way he was reacting to, some of the feints from Olajejczyk, it was terrible. He was ducking straight down, hands straight up, and that's what ultimately led to the finish. I think McVeigh, he's coming off of he's like I said, he's coming off that knockout win 2 weeks ago. I think he's got relentless pressure. He's used to fighting in a small cage, so I think he will, look to close the gap quick and fast. I think he's going to start early. I think he's going to be on Dumas's tail from the beginning, of the opening round. I don't think this gets out of 2 rounds, honestly. I think McVeigh also has, that nasty front headlock where he likes to find a lot of submissions. I believe maybe 2 wins ago. Yeah, he got a submission 9 months ago, guillotine 11 months ago. A year and 10 months ago, he's got this knockout over Regano where he was standing up against the cage, sleep. McVeigh's got a nasty pressure about him, and he did open as an underdog, and I like McVeigh to find a finish here. I think Dumas is definitely on the chopping block. His UFC career hasn't really been that impressive. He's got the win over Cody Brundage. Brundage is hot and then cold, hot and then cold. Look at Abu Azaitir, who's out of the UFC, lost to Ruziboyev, which is forgivable. Ruziboyev is tough, and that also was an eye poke, so I guess you cut him a little bit of slack. Went over Dennis Tululin, who's no longer in the UFC, and I believe he finished his career, at the time when he was cut, I think he was like 11-10, 11-11. And then lost to Olajejczyk, who definitely was on the chopping block as well. He also lost to Josh. He got subbed up by Josh Frim early on in his UFC career too. But you look at Dumas, he's got a lot of outside the sport issues. He just got arrested a few weeks ago, so I don't believe he's been training. If he has been training, it isn't up to the speed of what a UFC athlete should be doing. I feel as though Dumas has been clouded by a lot of different things still and I'm not trying to, bash this guy's personal life, but I think Jackson McVeigh is going to finish Cedric Dumas inside a round and a half. So give me Jackson McVeigh by finish. Look at the odds. Originally, it opened at Yeah, DUMAS was minus 150. And then it's, it was a coin flip at one point in time, but it looks as though everyone is, keying in on Jackson McVeigh. So I need to jump in on the train because I do believe McVeigh gets a finish. But we will look at the finish prop, the over under. Well, we look at the over under now. Over 1.5 plus 105. Yeah. Under. Yeah, I think we're definitely going under. I think Jackson McVeigh could sub him up, knock him out. I think he can get it done however he wants. So give me Jackson McVeigh by finish. 3 straight finishes to start the card. You can just, the way I'm feeling, man, I think it's definitely going to happen. Next up, we got Terrence T-Rex McKinney versus Vyacheslav Borschaev. I'm picking Terrence McKinney. I've been a long time Terrence McKinney believer, but he has let me down a few times in the past. He is sort of a, one round or bust type of fighter, but I think he can beat a Vyacheslav. I think he's the better wrestler. The striking, I feel as though Terrence definitely is. He has the faster hands. I think he can mix it up a lot better. Vyacheslav does have a solid snapping body kick too, though, which will be open for him in this fight. Terrence has the longer reach. We know what he's capable of doing. You look at the win over. How long ago was it? The win over Matt Frivola, where he knocked him out in like 9 seconds. He's got the win over Mike Breeden. A lot of his UFC wins, they aren't aging well. I don't believe any of them are still in the UFC. You know what I'm saying? The Damir Hadzovic fight, he was old, washed, well past, his fighting days. It's 4 months ago. I mean, he's been pretty active. You look at Vyacheslav, he's coming off this loss to Tom Nolan, where he got absolutely worked, majority of the fight. A split decision win over James Yontop. We know Yontop is not UFC level. Lost to Chase Hooper, which is forgivable. He got subbed up. Draw with Nazim Sadikov, which is definitely forgivable, seeing what, Sadikov just did to Nicholas Moda. And then Sadikov also, subbed up Terrence McKinney. So you don't do, UFC math, but, a common opponent for both of them. And then he's got a knockout over Machete, who isn't really that good, honestly. I don't know, man. I think Terrence McKinney could get it done, but it's like, there's a caution around picking Terrence McKinney. But I like Terrence McKinney. He trains with Charles Johnson as well. I think he could put it together in this fight. I think we could get a good two 2.25 rounds out of him. You know what I'm saying? If it has to go that far, I do think Vyacheslav has only been finished once in his career. I think it was the Chase Hooper submission. Yeah, he's only been finished once. He is pretty tough to finish. Sadikov almost had him knocked out, but he was able to overcome. But I do think Terrence can find it. It's just banking on his gas tank. You know what I'm saying? First round knockout would probably be, his best bet, but I don't know, man. Slava Klaus is tough. But I am gonna pick Terrence McKinney. A little bit of caution around it, but I think he can. I think if he beats Borschaev here, I think Borschaev is out of the UFC. I don't think an 8-5-1 Vyacheslav beats Terrence McKinney. You know what I'm saying? I think this isn't necessarily a layup, but this is definitely a fight that he should win. Terrence sitting at minus 172, Borschaev sitting at plus 147. I think that's reasonable. Over 1.5 plus money, under 1.5 minus 205. Definitely, biting the bullet on either side of that. You're definitely going to be shaking in your boots. So I do think Terrence can. I think he's going to look to wrestle a lot too. And if he's able to do that, I could see like a ground and pound finish. So yeah, Garrett, give me Terrence McKinney. Give me Terrence McKinney. I'm not gonna say a method. Next up, we got Viviane Araujo versus Tracy Cortez. The odds on this fight are absolutely disgusting. I really don't know why Tracy Cortez is the favorite. Because if you look at her wins, they aren't that impressive. Jasmine Jasovicius, I give it to you, but she was still, green, and it was over. This is 2 years ago. Then she's coming off the loss against Rose, where she got beat up just about a year ago. Melissa Gatto, I don't believe she's in the UFC. Justin Kish, 4 years ago. Stephanie Egger, 5 years ago. You know what I'm saying? She's fighting what, once a year, if that. Where we got Viviani, she's coming off this very impressive win. Not necessarily impressive, but impressive to turn back a rising, prospect in Karine Silva. Lost to Natalia Silva, which is forgivable. Natalia Silva is probably going to be fighting for the title next. Went over Jennifer Maya. Lost to Amanda Ribas, who's still a staple in, the women's flyweight division. And Alexa Grasso, who was on her way to becoming a champ, I believe, at the time of this fight. Tracy Cortez, she's got some solid boxing. She's got faster hands. Wrestling base is okay. Solid takedown defense. She's 7 years younger. 3-inch reach advantage. But I think she's at a big power disadvantage. I think Viviani can mix in the striking a lot better. She kicks a lot better. She rips this, like shovel uppercut, which if Tracy decides to shoot, I think that's a nasty weapon for her that'll be available. She's the better grappler. I think she can defend takedowns. I think she could take Tracy down. I think she's got knockout power. Originally, I did pick Tracy, but I think I'm going to flip, but we'll lock it in for the weigh-ins because we saw what happened when I did that with Bo Nickel and RDR. But I'm leaning more Viviani. I think, just because she's 38 doesn't mean that she can't compete with a Tracy Cortez who has yet to, I don't think Tracy Cortez has ever been in the top 10 of the flyweight division. I think Viviani can remain and hold her ranking where she is. It's just, does she gas out like she did similarly to the Karine Silva fight, where Karine was shooting for takedowns? She did, land, I believe, like 2 or 3. And Viviani's nose got busted up after a late shot in the first round, which is what was causing her, some issues to breathe. Karine definitely gassed out worse than she did. I'm gonna go with Vivi. And then we'll lock it in for the weigh-ins. But I'm going with Vivi. I think she could get it done by decision. Take a look at the odds. Like I said, Tracy Cortez minus 250, Viviani plus 210. I don't get it. I don't know what the books are seeing. I don't know what everybody else is seeing. But I think Vivi definitely has a chance. Over 2.5, minus 600, under plus 425. I mean, Vivi could throw up a submission. Even if she gets taken out, she's dangerous off of her back too. She's got some slick, transition. She was able to get from under Karine Silva, threatened with a arm bar. I believe that was in the first round. She's definitely the better grappler. But yeah, I think Vivi by like split decision. I think she could get it done. Moving on. We got Hyder Amil versus Jose Delgado. Each fight has just been getting better, in my opinion. If you really think about it, these fights are stacking up pretty well. I'm gonna pick the Hurricane. I think he has been clipped before. He has been, wobbled. If you look at the Fernie Garcia fight, he definitely clipped him. Hyder was just able to overcome and just put the pressure on Fernie, get him out of there in the second round. Jose Delgado is definitely a nasty kickboxer. He's got this knockout over Connor Matthews 4 months ago. But if you look at Connor Matthews, he just got, demolished by Yadier Del Valle in his debut. So how are you ranking that win? You know what I'm saying? The Ernie Juarez knee to the head on a contender series was very impressive. Jose Delgado is definitely nasty. He's better in the mid-range, I'll say. But Hyder Amil, as relentless and forward pacing he is, if you look at if you think about the Jung Young Lee knockout where it was like a 50-piece combination, go back and watch the Fernie Garcia fight. He's able to set up his shots. He's just poking with the jab, then ripping to the body, chopping at the leg, throwing up a head kick. He can pick his shots really well. Then he's got the Gomis split decision win where he was able to overcome the slick striker and Gomis, I think Gomis is definitely slicker of a striker than Jose Delgado, but Jose also has what Gomis doesn't have, which is power, knockout power at that. This is a great fight. This is a really good fight. Two prospects where I know, HERMANSON's 35, little definitely over the hump to be a prospect, but he's only been in the UFC for what, a year and a half, 2 years now. I think he could get it done. He's at a slight height and reach disadvantage, but like I said, with his pressure, he can overcome that pretty easily. He rips to the body pretty well, chops at the legs. Doesn't allow a lot of space for distant strikers. When he was fighting Gomis, he was tying up a lot, definitely shooting for takedowns. I think he can, recreate some of that success against Jose Delgado. But Delgado's got, some nasty power. He likes to brawl as well too. So I don't think this fight's gonna go the distance. Delgado's got a nasty clinch game too, throwing some pretty good knees in the pocket. This is gonna be a good one. Definitely potential for fight of the night. I'm going with the Hurricane as of right now. Check out the odds. AMIL plus 160, minus 185 for Jose Delgado. Over 2.5, plus 130, under 2.5, minus 160. Yeah, I don't think this fight is going the distance. I think Hyder can. Does Hyder knock out Jose Delgado? We've seen Hyder hurt. You know what I'm saying? So it's like maybe Jose clips him and puts him out. I would just bet fight doesn't go the distance. That would probably be the safest. But I am gonna pick AMIL. I think he can overwhelm him, maybe get like a decision win. But he's definitely gonna be hurt in this fight a few times. I think Hyder could pull it off. Yeah, let's go with Hyder. Next up, opening up the main. Oh no, excuse me, the feature prelim of the fight. We got Jack, the Joker Hermansson versus Gregory RoboCop Rodriguez. I'm picking RoboCop. I know he's coming off of this knockout loss against Jared Cannonier, but I think that was a little bit too far up the rankings and too early. I know he is 33, but Jared Cannonier is Jared Cannonier, man. He's still got power. He's still a nasty striker. He still can do it with, the best of them. Maybe not the best of them, but a few of them. If you look at the MCVEY finish, it was a little controversial, but he definitely was on his way out. But if you look at Jack Hermansson, he does not have knockout power. Jack Hermansson's last knockout was what, 2015 maybe? 2017, 2018. Since then, he hasn't knocked out anyone. He's been losing decisions. Got knocked out by Roman Dolidze. Knocked out by Jared Cannonier. He beat Joe Pyfer, but Joe Pyfer definitely gassed in that fight. I think Gregory, he also said in a recent interview that he's going to be a little bit more patient with his striking, probably find the opportunity to knock him out rather than, walk forward and throw, blistering combos like he normally does. So with that being said, I think Gregory can get it done by a decision. Maybe he finds the shot, but I don't think he's going to be hunting for it like he normally does. I do think Hermansson is a slick striker. He's more of a point striker. He likes to, strike from distance. Can go 3 hard, can overcome, some adversity. If you look at the Chris Curtis fight, I believe that was a split. I know it was a unanimous decision, but definitely had some, a little bit of trouble in that fight. Chris Curtis was in the pocket with some nice boxing, but Jack was really just poking and staying away on his bicycle the whole fight. And he's also 37 years old, and he's only fighting once every year and a half. Fought Joe Pyfer a year, 4 months ago. Roman Dolidze knockout 2 years, 6 months ago. Before that, Chris Curtis 3 and 4 months ago. Sean Strickland. So he's not really active. He's an inactive 37-year-old with two wins in the last 3 years. You know what I'm saying? I think Gregory Rodriguez can win by decision or knockout. He's going to be the taller fighter. A little bit of a reach disadvantage, but I don't think Jack is going to be able to pick and poke the entire fight. So I think Gregory is definitely live for a knockout. I just went and smashed on it. You know what I'm saying? RoboCop minus 202, Jack Hermansson plus 172. over 2.5 -145, under 2.5 +115. I think Gregor could get a decision win in this one. You'll definitely be, biting on your nails for it, but his own words, he said, wants to be a little bit more patient. There's opportunities where he was jumping the gun on Jared Cannonier, which is why he gassed out and ultimately got knocked out in that fight. So learning that lesson, I think he's definitely going to be a little bit more patient. We've seen him be able to go to the distance with COD, and I believe he also has another distance victory or decision victory in the UFC. Yeah, Dusko Todorovic. So yeah, I think RoboCop could get it done by decision. Jack is pretty tough too. I know the Roma Delidze knockout was on his record, but if you look at it, Roman had him in a calf slicer and was just punching him in the face. Jack wasn't able to get up, and the fight was ultimately called. So it wasn't like he was knocked out cold or anything like that. So, but give me RoboCop. I think he gets it done by decision. Now, opening up the main card. If you guys haven't already, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We got the prospect battle: Peyton Talbot versus Felipe Lima. I'm going Felipe Lima. There's a big discrepancy in the grappling department, which I think is going to be Felipe Lima's, path to victory. His striking is still pretty solid. He could definitely keep up with Peyton Talbot. Like I said, his takedowns are pretty solid. He's got really quick transition speeds. He was able to, submit Muhammad Naimov a year ago. He was possibly down. I think it was 1-1 headed into the third, and then he jumped on the opportunity where he got Naimov down and transitioned to his back and subbed him up. Very impressive victory there, and then he also was wrestling up Miles Johns, who's a pretty stocky. I believe that was a featherweight bout, right? I believe this is a featherweight fight. Yeah, featherweight fight. He's pretty stocky for the division too. Miles Johns is only like 5. What is he? 5. He's 5'7". Thought he's a little smaller than that. But this is going to be Felipe's bantamweight debut in the UFC. But Felipe Lima has always been a bantamweight in his career outside of the UFC, so it's not a big step down or weight cut for him. Just getting back to what he normally was doing prior. Peyton Talbot, he's coming off his decision loss to Ryan Barcelos, where he was absolutely grappled the entire fight. Did land, some pretty solid strikes in the matchup. I probably gave him like the second round. I think that's where he looked the best. Kickboxing is solid, has knockout power, attacks all 3 levels pretty well. His takedown defense has always been bad though. If you go back and really dissect, his fights, the Nikigiri fight, he found a submission late in the 3rd round, but for the first 2 rounds, he was getting wrestled, taken down, controlled for a majority of the fight. I remember he was a big favorite heading into that matchup, and the 3rd round finish for Peyton Talbot was like plus 700. I remember somebody in my group hit it. But yeah, he was getting controlled and dominated in the wrestling in that fight. Cameron Simon, we saw what that looked like. But Cameron Simon has been, well, up until that point, he wasn't knocked out, but he also got knocked out by your boy Malcolm Wildmaker not too long ago as well. Giannis Gameri is trash. Knocked him out in like 5 seconds into the first round. I believe that was on last year's International Fight Week as well. And then the Barcelos loss. Does have a good height advantage with the 4 inches, but he only has 2 inches in reach. Peyton Talbot has also had a cardio issue as well. We saw that in the Barcelos fight. The Nikigiri fight, he was looking a little tired. The Simon fight, he was, it was just a striking match, so didn't really have to show much of the cardio. I think for Talbot to win this fight, he's going to have to be the aggressor the entire fight. If he's put on his back foot, Felipe Lima is going to win this fight. Decision or maybe a submission, you know what I'm saying? I don't think this Barcelos loss, as bad as it was, live, I just don't think Peyton Talbot was all the way focused on that fight. And, for Peyton Talbot believers, this is a really good spot to, make some money on him, because this is probably the best price that you'll ever get him at. So I understand, the Talbot love. You see, there's a lot of people picking him by knockout, but I think Felipe Lima is, if you look at, you compare him and Barcelos, he's much younger. I think he's going to be the better striker. I think he's the better grappler out of the two. Him and Barcelos, I think he's definitely a better grappler than Barcelos. His jiu-jitsu's off the wall. He can definitely strike with Peyton Talbot. He's got some chaotic, pressure too. He was throwing a lot of, flying knees in this Muhammad Naimov fight. I think Felipe Lima is just the more complete fighter in this matchup. So give me Felipe Lima. We look at the odds, minus 200, plus 170 for Peyton Talbot. If you want to cash in on Peyton Talbot, now is definitely your chance. Over 2.5, minus 180, under 2.5, plus 150. I think there's an opportunity that this fight can go to the distance. But either side you're on, I think you're wanting to finish. You know what I'm saying? So, very interesting matchup right here. But I'm going to go with Jungle Boy to get it done. Next up, we got Beneil Dariush taking on Renato Moicano. Money Moicano. I'm going to pick Benny. And this is why. If you look at this matchup, what advantage does Moicano have? Does he have power? No. I think Benny has the power in this matchup, honestly. Can he out-wrestle Beneil? I don't think so. Is he the better grappler? I don't think so. I think it's pretty even. I know Dariush has been knocked out, in his past two fights, but look who he was against, man. Arman Tsarukyan, who I think could definitely knock out Moicano, and Charles Oliveira, who I think could definitely knock out Moicano. I think both of them could finish Moicano. Moicano, we knew, when this fight was originally booked for the what card was it? When Islam was supposed to fight Arman and he pulled out. I forgot what card that was, but it was in California, and they scrambled, made Moicano versus Islam. That was his money fight. That was, the pinnacle in which he wanted to reach. So now we're getting Moicano after the money. I don't think he's going to be as hungry as he was. He was saying, I cannot afford to lose this brother against Beneil Dariush. But now, he can afford it because he just got paid to lose, go out there, and get slaughtered by Islam. Didn't necessarily get slaughtered, but he definitely got subbed early, first round. Oh, my bad. But I think Beneil is going to look pretty solid in this fight. I think he's got, I think that overhand right that he likes to throw is definitely going to be available for him. I think he could wrestle Moicano. The scrambles are going to be, key to watch, but I don't see Beneil getting caught in something. I think, when he was able to wrestle with Charles Oliveira and, survive, I think that holds a lot of weight against a Moicano. He had Charles Oliveira on his back and, wasn't caught in anything significant. Ultimately got knocked out, but I think that holds a lot of value when you look at a matchup against Moicano. So give me Beneil. I think it's going to be like a split decision or a decision, unanimous decision. I don't think nobody's getting finished. Moicano, you look at their chins, Moicano's been dropped a lot. Got dropped by, not Biggie, Jalen Turner dropped him, and he ultimately had a comeback victory. He got knocked out by Fiziev. I believe Dober dropped him in that matchup too. Striking from range is okay. It's like, some decent Muay Thai. He does throw some solid leg kicks, but he doesn't really have power. Usually, his money in the fights is the grappling advantage, but he's not going to have that in this matchup. I think Dariush is going to be stronger. I think he could take him down. I think he could control him. I think it's going to be a competitive fight. Probably boring to watch on TV, but I think it's definitely going to be competitive. Let's take a look at the odds. Coin flip. Slight favor for Moicano, minus 104 for Beneil, minus 116 for Renato. What's the over? Over 2.5, minus 110, under 2.5, minus 120. I think this is going to a decision. I don't think either one of these guys are getting finished. I think a lot of the people are expecting Dariush's chin to be. Yeah, look, everybody's believing that MOICANO gets a knockout, but I don't think Dariush is gonna get knocked out. I don't think his chin is that bad. Maybe I could be wrong, but he got finished by two of the top four in the lightweight division. I don't think MOICANO has the power to do it. So give me Beneil by decision. Next up, we got the featured fight of the night. Brandon Raw Dog Royval taking on Joshua the Fearless Van. I'm going Josh Van, man. I'm going Joshua Van. I've been a huge fan of him since he made his debut, even when he got knocked out by Charles Johnson, who I'm also a huge fan of. I think Van could get it done, man. I think Van, if you think about this fight, Brandon Royval, yes, he has the height. Yes, he has the reach advantage. But Brandon Royval, his striking is a lot to, it's a close quarters combat type of style. He wants to be in the pocket, and that's going to favor a Joshua Van. Brandon Royval does not do a really good job at maintaining distance. Maybe for takedown purposes, but for striking, a lot of his stuff is tight. It's elbows, it's knees in the pocket, it's uppercuts. Oh, he can land the uppercut that Charles Johnson did. No, I don't think so, man. Joshua Van, notoriously, he's been known to be a slow starter. But if you look at his last two fights, the Ray Saruya fight, he definitely started a lot quicker. Bruno Silva fight he was off to it from the beginning of the the first round. I bet for that fight for it to go to the distance, and he ended up getting a knockout in the third round. But Joshua Van definitely started a lot quicker. So I think that's pretty much out the window. That little stigma of him. The striking in the pocket, I gotta go with Van. His boxing is elite. He can, I think the combinations that he throws is definitely going to give Brandon Royval a lot of issues. He's going to target that body a lot. I think, it's going to look similar to, I don't want to give it away, but it's going to look a lot similar to, I'll say this. Joshua Van's boxing looks similar to Ilya. If you think about it, the tight combinations when he's ripping to the body and then coming over the top, that's what Joshua Van does, very well. And that's a little comparison I'll give you guys for right now, seeing that they're both on the same card. Super young, 23, taking advantage at this moment. He just knocked out Bruno Silva 2 weeks ago, and Manel Kape fell out with the ankle injury, something like that. And Joshua Van steps in. Huge opportunity for him. If he wins this, Joshua Van will be fighting Alexandre Pantoja for the title probably in December. Now, that's a matchup that I got to do a whole nother video on because I'm not ready to pick that. We got to see what Pantoja does against, Kai Kara France coming up. But Joshua Van, man, he's on that one hell of a run. 8-1 in the UFC. This dude is nasty, man. Brandon Royval, like I said, a lot of his striking is in the pocket. But I don't think he'll be able to put the combinations together better than Joshua Van in that red zone. Van also has the knockout power, where as Royval, I think he has the advantage in grappling. Can he take Joshua Van down? Yes. Will he do it easily? No. It's so much easier to take a taller fighter down than it is to get under someone who's so much smaller than you. Joshua Van has that advantage and the disadvantage, if you get what I'm trying to say. Brandon Royval also came out today and said that, if he does not win this fight, he's going to move up to either bantamweight or featherweight. So that puts in my mind that he's already thinking about not winning this fight. You know what I'm saying? He said he doesn't want to be a gatekeeper. So I think he thinks he's going to lose this fight, or, he's just whatever it is at this point. But I would like to see Brandon Royval up at bantamweight. I think he would fare a little better, because I don't think if he loses this, I don't think he's going to fight for a title again. He beat Moreno, fought for the title against, didn't he fight Moreno for the title? Or you fight Moreno on the way to the title? Yeah, he fought Moreno on the way to the title, then fought Pantoja. No. Yeah, okay. Lost to Moreno, was injured. That was on Moreno's title run. then got subbed out by Pantoja, then lost to Pantoja. Yeah, that's what it was. Tried to fight Cop a few times. That fight fell through. Yeah, I think Joshua Van gets it done, man. I think he gets it done. Maybe by. I think he gets it done by decision. I respect Brandon Royval. He's not super chinny or anything like that. How many times has Royval been knocked out? Yeah, just the one from Moreno, and that was a shoulder injury. So yeah, give me Joshua Van by decision. He did open up as a big favorite when the fight was announced. I think he was like a minus 400 favorite. There's a lot of respect on the Brandon Royval side. Excuse me. Royval was a plus 220, sitting at plus 105 now. Joshua Van minus 260 when it opened up, sitting at minus 125 now. I really like these odds for this fight. Over 2.5 minus 225, under 2.5 plus 185. I do think we're getting a decision, and I do think it's going to be Joshua Van with his hand raised. So give me the young Myanmar prospect to get it done, and he will be fighting for a title pretty soon. Joshua the Fearless Van. Next up in the co-main event of the evening, we got Alexandre Pantoja versus Kai Don't Blink out of France. I'm going with Pantoja, man. Flyweight GOAT potential definitely on the way. I respect DJ, so DJ is the GOAT to me, but Pantoja is definitely making one hell of a case. He's pretty much lapping in the division. He fought Kai Kara France back on the Ultimate Fighter 2016 season when they did the champion season. He fought Moreno there, beat him. Fought Kai Kara France there, beat him. Then fought Moreno in the UFC twice. Moreno won second round choke. Fought Kai Kara France. Then fought Moreno again, decision, and then beat him for the title. Yep. Then beat Royval, then beat Urseg, then subbed up Kai Asakura, which I picked against Pantoja. Now he's fighting Kai Kara France. Kara France, you got to really think about it. This is like a title shot given to him on a platter because the division is so thin. He's 1-3 in his last, 1-2 in his last three. Or he got knocked out by Brandon Moreno, 3 years ago. Lost the robbery, split decision against Amir Albazi. I did think he won that fight, but it was still, tick for tack. Then he's coming off the win 10 months ago against Steve Urseg. I would have liked to see, Kata France mix it up one more time before getting his title shot, but he got it. I mean, the knockout was definitely, impressive seeing that Urseg, was coming off the Pantoja loss where he wasn't, Pantoja wasn't able to finish him. Urseg definitely gave him a run for his money. Royval gave him a run for his money, and then the Moreno fight was a split decision, and then he just ran through Kai Asakura. I picked Kai Asakura, and he did the worst. But Pantoja's got some sneaky Muay Thai. He can walk through anything. His chin is granite. I think he's gonna wilt Kai Kara France. I think he's gonna find the back. Kai Kara France does have pretty good takedown defense, but I think Pantoja's grappling is just too superior. He's working down an American Top Team, so his wrestling is going to look a lot better. I think he could get Kai Kara France and find a submission. IQ is off the walls. He's already beat Kai Kara France. I think a win here, an impressive win here, puts him, neck and neck with Demetrius Johnson. You look at Kai Kara France, he does have knockout power. The boxing is pretty good. Takedown defense has been solid. Does have 12 of the flyweight finishes in UFC history, I believe it is. But I don't think if Pantoja gets him down, I don't think he's going to be able to get back up. I think when he can't find the knockout shot, we're going to see Kai Kara France get disengaged in the fight. If you look at the Moreno fight, it looked like that, and then he ultimately got finished to the body. I think he's gonna look similar to that. I think Pantoja gets his back, finds a submission probably like round 3 or 4, but ultimately it'll be Alexandre Pantoja and still. Look at the odds: minus 252, plus 212 for Kai Kara France, which sits about right with me. over 2.5, minus 230, over 3.5, minus 135. You sit. I mean, you're playing with fire in that 3.5. But yeah, I do think Pantoja submission or decision is definitely the method to victory in this one. And in the main event of the evening, Ilya El Matador Topuria versus Charles Do Bronx Oliveira. If you guys haven't already, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I love this fight, but I hate it at the same time because I am a super Charles Oliveira fan. He is probably my third favorite fighter of all time. Ilya, though, man, he's just too much. He's too much. He's gonna knock Charles Oliveira out. I'm confident that he's gonna do it, and I hate it for him, but it's just gonna happen. I'm telling you, it's gonna happen. I know it's gonna happen. I see it already. Charles Oliveira, Muay Thai is off the charts, right? But he also likes to work that clinch. When he goes to clinch up with Ilya Topuria, Topuria's gonna rip the body and then go over the top. It's not that Oliveira, has this infinite chin where he's been able to eat everything. If you go through every single title fight from him, let's go through it. Gaethje. Well, let's go back, right? Let's go back to when he won the title. Chandler got hurt early in the first round, knocked down, almost got finished, right? Poirier dropped him 3 times in the first round. Gaethje dropped him. Islam dropped him. Then he comes back, he knocks out Benil. Then he goes to split decision with Arman. Then we go to the Michael Chandler fight again. 5th round, got dropped. It was a little, cheeky shots, but still got dropped. I think Ilya Topuria hits harder than all of them. And that's not even that's no neck. That's what you say from up north. That's no neck. I think Ilya Topuria definitely hits harder than all of them. Now he's moving up to 155. He's been training at this the Spain Olympic team gym where he's been putting on muscle mass. He's definitely been, keyed in on his health. I think Ilya Topuria is gonna look like a monster. Sitting at a heavy line for him too. Heavy favorite in this matchup. But Ilya Topuria, man, I think he can hang with him in the grappling. The striking definitely can. I think he's the better striker. Definitely the better boxer out of the two. Wrestling, I favor Ilya. I think Ilya could definitely dictate where this fight goes. I know everyone's like, oh, Charles is so much larger than him. He can take him down, and I don't think he's not gonna be able to take Ilya down. Ilya's base is so strong. Damn, I'm just hating that he's gonna have to do it to Charles Oliveira, bro. I see Ilya Topuria knockout round 2 or 3. That's what I'm leaning on. The value though, if you believe Charles Oliveira could do it, the value on him is amazing. I don't think we'll ever see Charles Oliveira upwards of a plus 300 favorite. So I mean, I get it if you want it, but it's literally just a value play. But I don't think he gets it done, bro. I think Charles Oliveira is gonna get starched and face first into the canvas. Look at this is what I gotta say, bro. I've been thinking about this all day. If Ilya Topuria knocks out Charles Oliveira, he is better than Khabib all time. I don't care what you say. I don't care if you look at Khabib's, record. Ilya Topuria, Volk, Max Holloway, Charles Oliveira, he's better than Khabib all time. He's probably neck and neck with Islam at that point. I think Ilya Topuria is going to knock out Charles Oliveira inside of 3 rounds. I think it's going to be a picture perfect, way to cap off International Fight Week. I think this is definitely a showcase fight. But damn, Ilya Topuria is going to do it, bro. He's going to do it. I'm going to hate it, but I'm going to love it at the same time. Let's look at the odds. Minus 450, plus 350 for Oliveira. You got to, I get it if you're betting plus 350, bro. But it's just not going to happen. Over 1.5, minus 140, damn. Over 2.5, plus 120. Damn, they don't even think you're going over 2.5. That's a little dicey right there. I could see Charles, surviving a little bit, but I don't know. Ilya's been talking like he's going to knock him out in the first round. And what have we seen from Ilya other than everything he said has come true? He said he was going to knock out Max. Did it. Say he was going to knock out Volk. Did it. Beat Josh Emmett. Handled Bryce Mitchell. Beat Jai Herbert after he got head kicked. I think Ilya is just, the face of the new generation, and he's not going to be here long. He's already said he wants to probably retire before he's 30. So a knockout over Charles, and then what fight do we get? Maybe Islam at 170. Maybe Islam comes back down to 155. If he comes back down to 155 and he knocks out Islam, mind blown. Ilya Topuria would be the greatest of all time. He would be, you could put him in conversations with John Jones. That's how impressive this dude has been, and I think he will look like a GOAT after he slaughters Charles Oliveira, who I am a huge fan of, and I'm going to hate that it happens. But either way it goes, we're getting New on June 28th, and I do believe the belt is headed to Spain. So that's what I got for UFC 317 full card predictions. Thank you guys for tuning in. Let me know what you think about the picks. If you think, Charles gets it done. If you think Kai France gets it done. You think Josh Van is going to get knocked out. Let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking. If you don't got nothing to say, just drop a W in the chat. And like always, I will see you guys later.